Good morning, or afternoon, or evening, depending on what time you're watching this video. But anyways, you guys, welcome back. Last video, we pretty much got all the suspension buttoned up on the front of this truck. Everything's been stripped, cleaned, painted. Ball joints replaced, new sway bar links. Everything's been greased, new brake calipers, bearings. Our wheel bearings have been checked and repacked. Everything torque put back together. New soft lines for our brake calipers as well was installed, and we got the brakes bled with the help of my little peanut. And everything checked for leaks. Everything is good to go. So now that I got that all out of the way, I moved some stuff around because now my next project is to freshen up our 4L60E transmission. Now it worked, it shifted through all the gears, so I really don't anticipate having too much of an issue with it, except for the fact that I plan on taking this thing on a really long drive, and I just want to freshen up the clutches. It did good when it was behind the big block, as long as I didn't put my foot through the firewall. It did just fine, didn't overheat, always shifted. So although the fluid did look a little burnt when I spilled it yesterday, so I'm glad I'm getting in there to check it out. So anyways, we're going to freshen it up. Now, I've only rebuilt one other transmission, and that was a 4R75E for a 2004 F-150, I believe is when it came out, if I remember correctly. That transmission is still doing good today, so hopefully that can be passed on to this one here. So now I'm going to put a link to the transmission bench in the description. It's a YouTube channel. I'm not sponsored by any means whatsoever. I'm putting it in there because the guy that does the videos breaks these transmissions down in multiple parts. That way you don't have much or far to go when you're rewinding or pausing or going to find something. Very thorough on how to do it, and gives you all the measurements, tools you're going to need, and if you don't have them, kind of shows you what you can do to make something. This guy here is just the beginning of a tool I was making for myself. I'll finish it up later. I'm trying to make it so I can bolt it to the front of my engine stand, but for right now, I'm going to use it as a kickstand, so when I flip the transmission up, it sits somewhat level and doesn't want to rock around on the bench or my table here. So that is really the only reason I built that, and it's just some bolts and some nuts welded in it to go in the ears here. And then I have two tabs right here to kind of help support it, level it out, keep this thing from rocking. So, but like I said, I'll put a link to that YouTube channel in the description. If you guys are ever wondering ever wanted to rebuild your automatic transmission, he's got a bunch of different ones on there. Like I said, very thorough. Definitely, I mean, well, it'll help you out. It really would if you're ever interested in rebuilding one of these things. So, but anyways, let me get you in the stand here. We're going to start knocking some parts off. Like here it is. I got a bunch of tools laid out already. Got a big workspace. Let's see, maybe I can get you up a little bit higher. So, there we go. Yeah, I got a really big workspace here. Should definitely help out when organizing things across the bench. So, what I'm going to do right now is just go ahead and start disassembling the stuff. Like I've gone ahead and watched quite a bit of the videos on this transmission. So, I'm going to go ahead and just start taking things apart, spreading it out on the bench. My plan is to have this thing torn apart, everything put back together, and the transmission at least reassembled before the end of this video. So I've got to get to work. And like I said, I'm not the one to teach it. I'm just going to go over some of the things I have found, or what caused this thing, or if there's any issues with this. So, yeah, without goofing around any longer, let's get into a time lapse and start taking this thing apart. Okay, transmission is all tore down, and I'm gonna say that it was actually came apart very easily. To my surprise, this transmission has been rebuilt at least once before, because well, everything's pretty fresh on the inside. The overdrive band, or the whatever the heck this thing is called. I'll look at a book and I'll figure out technical terms later. But this guy looks brand new. Show you here. That guy is in really good shape. It has I mean, you can see where the band had been riding, but I feel no ridges. There's no deformities at all. So that's in really good shape. All the bushings, if we can get in there and kind of look, they don't even look like they've been worn. Like that was just a reflection, so you can see it is in really good shape. The only thing that I had an issue with is, let me see if I can get it over here. I'll flip it around. And I did buy some other parts. I bought some good used parts. I bought new front and rear planetaries because, well, they're used. I shouldn't say new. Good used. That were in excellent shape. They were checked before being sold, so they're all within spec. I bought those because these usually go out. And a bunch of other parts. Well, to my surprise, these planetaries are in really, really good shape. Real tight, no movement. All the gears look good. The only thing I have a problem with is this guy right here. The bearing's in good shape. Somehow there was water in there because there's some rust right here. So there was a little bit of water in there. And let's see, I'll pull this off. And I had to use a hammer to get it out because somebody put a punch in there and used the punch to kind of tighten it up on the output shaft. So it was really, really tight getting off. I'm assuming this had an issue where it was worn, but I did go ahead, and this is part of the things I bought. So you can see, here's my replacement piece. It is not punched or staked, and I have test fitted it on the output shaft already, so it does fit nice and tight. I worked it on and off a couple times just to make sure everything was good on that one, and it actually cleaned up. It does slide on. It's nice and snug, but it doesn't bind up. There's no it doesn't wiggle or jiggle. It slides on and off the output shaft nice and tight. So thankfully I bought that. Now I've got a bunch of other parts here, new clutches, steels, gaskets. I have a new harness because my harness was broken. I knew that from when I did the fluid change many years ago. And so that's where I'm at. It is all torn apart. Now, like I said, I'm only getting in there to freshen it up. I haven't looked at any of the clutches or steels on it yet. Oh, I did find another thing. These two seals here are in really good shape. I went all the way around and looked. But if we can focus in here, you can see it's kind of chunking a little bit. So this seal was having some kind of issue. So we'll get that replaced. That one other part, like I said, I'll figure out, I'll learn the technical term for it later. I'm just excited to be able to get in here, find a little issues, and when I go putting it back together, I'll figure it out. So for right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this thing off the table, get the case off the table. I'm going to get it hosed down, get some simple green on there, get one of those soft brushes, kind of clean all the grease out from inside the bell housing, blow some of that stuff out with an air blower, passages, make sure everything's nice and clean, and then we'll get it back up here on the bench and start putting this thing back together. All right, got the case pretty much all cleaned up. I've used a little soft brush on it. There's some grease still in corners and stuff like that. I'll scratch it off and tinker around with it probably for a few minutes before putting it back in the truck. But right now it's clean enough to do what I want to do. I've also gone ahead and just finished making my little kickstand. That way it holds this thing straight up for me. That only does so now it'll be level when I lay it on its back, and I got it so it stands straight up. That way when I put this thing back together, it just makes life easier for me. I've also gone ahead, got the output shaft and all this stuff put back into place. I did end up changing out, like I said before, this guy, I changed it because it was staked. This guy and that guy over there, I changed out because bushings in those were in much better shape. So maybe I'll get a bushing kit and just change the bushings out in that, and then have those for backups or spares if needed, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to pull this tranny out again. But hopefully not in the near future. So output shaft, all that stuff's back in place. So I did find an issue because I've gone ahead and tore this guy apart here. And if you're wondering what this is, it's a motorcycle stand. I just took a hole saw, put a hole in it. That way I can sit on my little bench here, get right over it, and I can get in there and clean. But this transmission, of course, you got these pistons here. These are for all the clutches. Now these, I really should not be able to do that. Granted, I mean, they do have some miles on them, so. But when you're shifting, that lip seal right there goes inside this guy. Fluid comes in there, pressures up. It expands this to engage clutches. But I should not be able to do that. So definitely pressure leaking by there. You can see kind of all the fluid around. That's clutch material. And when I start getting into those, there are some bluing. There is some bluing on the steels, so that's fine. I got new steels to replace it. There's a little bit of clutch material, but if you guys remember when I took the pan off, it wasn't really, really bad. So I probably could have just changed out the lip seals in that and put it back together if I was like on some kind of, if I had to, is what I'm saying. So, but my kit, I got all new clutches over there, so all those are good. I bought all new steels. And tell you guys this, one thing I have learned so far after, this is my second transmission, and I figured since I was just doing a freshen up, I was just going to I just bought seals and clutches, and then I bought steels, and then I bought a couple other little things here and there. It's just easier, and I did the math. It's much easier if you just buy the master rebuild kit. It has everything you need. So lucky for me, this is a 93 4060E. So it shares some of the same characteristics as a 700R4. Some of them, not all of them. Like this bonded piston right here, this one's bad. This is out of the transmission. It also just drops right on in. Shouldn't be able to do that. Lucky for me, my kit over there had a new one, so nice. Also, that kit over there had all new lip seals for these pistons. Because my 7R4, it has all bonded pistons, and I have a full kit, except for -1 now. I got to order another one. But because most of these rebuild kits, they cover a variety or a range of years, have parts in it that you won't need or fit a different transmission. So luckily for me, that kit over there had all the lip seals for those pistons right there. So that's good. I can continue to clean this thing up and keep putting it back together. So I'm going to go ahead and get this thing all put back together, get all the snap rings, clutches, everything in there. And then keep moving on, get this thing put back together. So like I said, you guys, I'll put a link to the transmission bench is what it's called. This guy breaks all these transmissions down, different videos. So you got a couple of lessons, a couple parts. Makes it really easy to go back and forth, find what it is you need to be, what you're looking for, all the measurements, tools you're going to need. If you don't have them, he kind of shows you how to make them or what you can use instead. So it's really cool. But I'm going to get this thing back together. Yeah, so I'll be right back.
And just like that, with YouTube magic, the transmission is fully rebuilt. It is completely 100% done. Here is everything that I pulled or changed out of the transmission. So we got all these clutches. A lot of these weren't too bad, but I figured since I was in there and had new ones, we'll change them out. And this guy was changed. Let's see here, because somebody staked it to tighten it up. So there was obviously some kind of issue with this. And then those are in good shape. I just changed them because the bushings were not as good as the ones in my replacement parts. There is our valve body gaskets. Got a new harness. So transmission cleaned up really well. It is a lot. Truthfully, it was a lot of fun to do. Honestly, and in my opinion, if you can get up underneath your car and pull the transmission out, and then just set yourself up with an area, you'd have no problem doing this transmission in about a day, day and a half. Most of the time I spent was just cleaning every little thing because, well, it was dirty. But if I was to set up and just kind of run through it, I could probably have it all done in a day. That's with the transmission out, of course. But anyways, transmission is back up in the truck. Torque converter is in. Everything's bolted up to the flex plate. Drive shaft is in as well. And I want to show you guys too, I updated, this light up here, but went ahead and changed those out to AN fittings. I will be running a remote transmission cooler. I've got, I think an 8-pass is what it is. It's sitting over there. I got that. We'll run that in there. I may or may not run a fan. Hopefully I can get this thing up and running soon so I can figure that out. But I'm excited. Transmission is in. So now the engine is sitting where it's supposed to be. Now that is where it's supposed to be, I can start putting in the turbo kit because, well, it was built around the transmission. And I needed to level it out because I'd still have to build a mount or like a kind of like a strut for the turbo because it hangs off the side of that manifold and that elbow. So the only thing kind of really holding it up is my exhaust and the V-bands. So I want to make a little strut that goes from the bottom of the T4 flange to the frame, give it a little more strength. Now, and I can make the lower radiator hose as well because now the engine's sitting where it's supposed to be. I can start running the wires, get the fuel lines in. So we're getting closer. We are getting closer, but it is getting late. I am been working, but I'm also having fun doing it. I want you guys also get out there or I hope it motivates you guys to get out there, work on your stuff. This is my second transmission doing, and truthfully, much easier than the first time, whether this one had fewer parts in it for whatever reason. I'm pretty sure they have about the same. They both have overdrive, but I felt more confident this time around. So, and I figured if I could rebuild one and it's still running, it's still going, I could do another one. But now I've got to get myself cleaned up, start setting up so we can get the turbo kit back in, start running hoses, wiring, all that other stuff. But that is on another video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you're new and you've made it this far, hit that subscribe button for me. I do appreciate all the support you guys give me. It definitely motivates me to keep this going and just have fun. Hopefully one day I get to meet some of you. But anyways, you guys, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Hope this inspires some of you to get out there and work on your stuff. And I'll catch you on the next one.